Hi, welcome to Alaskan in the Philippines, currently in Thailand. Today I thought I'd talk about whether it's safer here in Hue Hin, Thailand or Dumaguete. In other words, did I feel safer myself personally? Not citing statistics or anything. I would say there was a bunch of factors that I noticed in the Philippines that I don't quite notice here. And let me start by when I first arrived in the Philippines, flying in, you see people that are got their bags, their hand carry-ons, and I seen notice the Filipinos when they sit down, they'll have their bag around their leg. The strap will be around their leg so that nobody could come up and grab it and run. I don't know if that's a problem. I never had anybody grab my bag and run or anything or attempt to. But a lot of the Filipinos, I notice the men do it a lot of times. They'll be sitting in a chair, they'll put their bag, even in an airport, which in my mind, an airport ain't really a hot zone to be worried about being stolen from. But I guess you should, maybe a pickpocket, but everybody at an airport's just traveling. So I always felt pretty safe as long as you keep my biggest worry was always forgetting my bag, leaving it there. Maybe that was his problem, his reason, but I doubt it. I think it was because an old habit of watch your stuff because it happens, I guess. And it does probably here in Thailand too. But I noticed that flying into like where I was in Cebu waiting for my flight at Mactan International Airport. But in the domestic airline, it's real crowded and noisy and it's really packed full of people. You can't even hardly find a seat to sit down in that airport while you're waiting for the flights that are backed up, and even when they're not backed up it can be a long wait and it's really crowded. There's a bunch of food stalls and stuff there, but yeah, it's kind of an older part of the airport too. It's rough, a little bit rough. But yeah, I noticed that when I first got in there where people were sitting down and they had their backpack strapped. And then of course, if they were carrying the backpacks, they carry them in the front too. They don't carry them behind. They'll carry them in the front. So that's a better way to watch it, I guess. They'll strap it on right here, sitting on the bus or anywhere and sitting in their seat even. I've seen that. So apparently there must be some type of thievery in that sector of grabbing your bag and run. And maybe I hear about it, phones and stuff too. You got to watch for your phone. Although I've never had an attempt to grab my phone in Dumaguete or anything. I don't know and I haven't here either in Thailand, but I would say there's a bit of a desperation factor in the Philippines. The poverty is much more pronounced and noticeable. Here in Thailand, it seems everybody seems to have a job. They seem to have, even though they're low paid like Filipino workers, they make a little more than the Filipinos. The Filipinos make maybe $9 or $10 a day, and I think these guys maybe $15 a day or about that. It ain't a lot, or maybe $12 and 15 a day for a construction worker or something. So it ain't big money, but you can live cheap. The Thais eat cheap food on the street, 40 baht, and they can feed themselves a meal. So it's real cheap. They can make it around here as long as they're gainfully employed. Whereas you go into the Philippines, the jobs are hard to get, and there's so many people that I think the unemployment is going to be a lot higher. I haven't checked the statistics. Maybe one of you guys will know more, but it seems like the unemployment rate is probably much higher in the Philippines. Makes sense. And that's one thing I noticed. When you get that desperation factor, you're going to get more crime, just like is there more crime in Bangladesh, India than there is in, Florida. Yeah, because of the population is huge too, and people are living on a lot less money. So that can be one thing. Also, I noticed that in the Philippines, the shops all have metal gates that roll down. You actually steel gates that'll completely you can't see in, and some will just be gates, but they all have it on the business, and they'll roll those gates down and they'll put a padlock on it. So when they close up shop, it's tight. Here in Hue Hin, I noticed when they close up shop, they'll just tip the bar chairs up onto the bar, and then that's it. And it's wide open airspace bars, a lot of these bars. And I think the alcohol's right there behind the counter. I walk by them every morning when I'm walking up Soy 94, and all the bars you could walk right in. There's nobody there. And I think all the liquor and stuff's right behind the counter. You wouldn't see that in the Philippines. I think one thing here, again, is the Buddhist, they're kind of more honest. As a Christian, it pains me to say this, but don't pain me, but I mean, it surprises me that they're pretty honest here. They're not, I don't get the feeling that people are trying to steal it from each other or anywhere else. And I really don't see anybody worried about it even. You don't see the armed guards like you do in the Philippines. The Philippines got cops and security all over the place. They'll be standing right there in front of the 7-Eleven with a shotgun. I always thought it was kind of strange. I didn't see the crime there either. But apparently there is. There must be. A lot of the armored cars running around here, I don't see that either. So all the businesses here, even the restaurants, a lot of them just pull a tarp down and that's it. You can just peek behind the tarp and the whole business is open-faced. There's nobody in there, It's on the honor system around here. A lot of everything is on the honor system. So, and I'm not approached by a lot of people. Like in the Philippines, there's always somebody. You pull up to a place, like if you're on your motorbike and you pull up and you're going to park, there's a parking attendant that'll come up and he wants to park your bike and he's going to grab it from you and pull it over and park it into where you can't get to it and it's blocked in by other bikes. He'll put a piece of cardboard over the seat to keep it from getting hot. But then he come back, you're going to have to pay him something, and if you don't tip him, it'll be a bad deal. But yeah, that's kind of a pushy thing that they have in the Philippines. And here I don't see it. You can just park whatever you want. You can drive down the sidewalks if you want. And it's not a lot of pressure from people that are trying to make a dime. And of course, the beggars, once you get the begging, that crime rate must go along with that too. So, and I don't see that here. So yeah, and so the lack of the security guards, even the hotels, the major hotels that are big hotels, you really don't see security hanging out there. There'll be one guard that's sitting in the entrance or something on his phone. They're not armed. I haven't seen any guns. I haven't seen a gun here, I don't think. I've seen some military deuce and a halfs look like go by with some military in them once. And as far as police, I hardly just see one or two so far. And I seen a van of tourist police go by. I didn't see the actual police, but I don't know who they are. So, but yeah, I just don't get the desperation factor here in Thailand like I did in the Philippines. In the Philippines, it seemed like people were constantly kind of sizing you up. They were always watching, you're the foreigner. They expect all foreigners are millionaires and rich. The Filipinos all think that. They think you're very rich. If you're there in the Philippines, you bought a ticket that cost more than just the plane ticket alone is more than they've made in a year. So you're definitely rich just by you being there. So they're all sure of it. You're absolutely rich, even if you're only on Social Security and you're not bringing in much. They assume you're rich, and then to relieve you of a little bit of that wealth wouldn't be that bad of a sin, So you'd get over it, and they think you'd survive it and be just fine if they could just get a little. So I don't know, but everybody carries their money in a leather strap across there, a man purse, or strap across their chest, and I do too. I wear one on my belt. I keep it under my shirt, just out of sight, out of mind. I don't like advertising. Right here's my money. That's not a good idea in my point of view. I haven't lost my money in wallet yet, so I carry a small wallet and I don't keep everything in it. I've never been approached or close to being robbed or anything, and anywhere I've been in the Philippines or Thailand here, I've never had anybody try to really scam me. The women here, I see the honesty. Of course, the women in front of you while they're in the Philippines, they're going to protect you too, If you go over there with the Filipina, she's going to be your protection. She's going to make sure you don't get robbed by another Filipino or something. She's going to watch out for you. And the other Filipinos, the would-be robbers or scammers will know that too. They'll see you're with her and they ain't gonna get away with much. So that is a big plus. I noticed when I was over there without a Filipino, there was a lot more people wanted to talk to me and come up and chat, and I was more of a watch and see, and people would yell out things at me trying to get my attention to get them over there or something. I noticed there was a difference in attitude when I was single than when I was with a Filipina. So keep that in mind. She's going to protect you if you're going to have them, but then you need protecting from the Filipina sometimes too. So that brings me to my Thai friend here. She goes out and I give her money to go buy me a durian. You know, I gave her $1,000. The stuff's expensive. I gave her $1,000. That's like $30. So she goes out and she gets me a durian, and it's all butchered and comes in a thing. And I love the stuff, by the way. And she brought it to me, and the price was $800, and she could have kept the change of a couple of hundred. You know, that would have been like $6 change or something. She didn't. And there was the receipt stuck right to it, so I know she didn't overcharge me or something. And she handed me back every baht and change back. I let her keep it, of course. And for running, she ran around and got it on her scooter for me. She wants to get some more today. I might get another batch. Stuff's expensive, but it's really good. I love it. I seen it in the store where they were selling it for like $22,500 for a little tray about this big of it. I couldn't believe the price, and I got it for $800. So she did me a good deal. Stuff's expensive. It's kind of a rich man's food here. I like it though. I'm gonna get some more. But anyway, yeah, she gives me all back my money. But so does the girl in the Philippines. I was dating the Filipina. She would always give me back my money. Actually, I got to the point where in the Philippines, I would give her the money and let her pay all the trikes and stuff. I would pay like dinners and stuff, but all the small bills, trikes, if there was something she wanted to buy or we needed a small item, she would pay for it. I just give her a wad of pesos, usually $20 or something that would last her for a week or so. But that helped. And that's another thing. A lot of the Filipinos will have family that don't, they're struggling to feed themselves. And I don't see it so much here. There's so much food in Thailand that you can eat so cheap. And I mean, you can collect, like I say, these guys are collecting bottles and plastic bottles for food money. You need to make 40, 80 baht a day. If you can make $3 a day, you could feed yourself and sleep in the park if you had to. Around here, the weather's beautiful, So I don't see homeless people even here. I did in the Philippines. You see people sleeping right on the sidewalks. Here, I don't see that. I don't see any homeless. Not that I know of. I know there are in Bangkok and other big cities and stuff, but here in Hue Hin, the town of 50 to 70,000, I don't see anybody sleeping on the streets. I think I saw one sleeping under an overpass kind of thing. Yeah, I saw one so far. And it looked like they were just camped out there. I don't think they were that homeless looking. Well, maybe they didn't need a home. It's kind of one thing, you may not need a home. Really, you don't. In this weather, you could just fall down, sleep wherever you want. Wake up, you'll be fine. Continue on your journey. But yeah, so there's no desperation of homelessness that I see anyway. And they're not desperate to feed themselves. Whereas in the Philippines, I've had people come up and I knew they were serious beggars, and they ask, could you give me a little spare change? I have no rice. That's what they'll say. When they have no food, they'll say, I have no rice. They won't say no food. It'll be no rice. That means they don't have no rice and food probably. So I always tried to help them. People when I did, and you could see it, and I never had that desperation here in Thailand yet. But that's another thing. There's a language barrier here in Thailand where they can't really approach you and ask you for something. Even a salesman will have a tough time trying to sell you something because of the language barrier, and that's a foregone thought for them. Maybe that, I really can't scam this guy if I can't speak his language. So that discouragement, maybe, I don't know. But honestly, I honestly feel like I'm in a safer environment here. I'm not being sized up. The Filipinos, they're all looking at me like I'm a millionaire. I'm rich. I'm there and I'm a millionaire and rich. Here, I believe the Thais think, well, this is just a guy on vacation. He's got some money to go on vacation. They don't see it as, because Thais got money and can go on vacation too. So, most of them probably. It's so cheap to travel here in Thailand. Anybody could afford to go on vacation. So they don't see it. even the trains are so cheap, and the plane flights around to Thailand are pretty cheap to other neighboring countries. So they really don't see a traveler as a rich man like they do in the Philippines. To get to them islands, you're out in the middle of the ocean, man. You got to make a special flight to get there, and it costs a lot of money. But yeah, to Thailand too, they think, well, you could just be from a little neighboring country, you know. Europe ain't that far away. So that's another thing too. They don't look at you as a total rich. They know you make more than them, I'm sure of that, because they know their wages are down, but they're just not looking at you as you're totally rich, although probably a lot of them are. A lot of these people around here look like they're rich, but it's a lot of Europeans. So I don't know if the Europeans are rich or not. I know their Social Security is kind of a lot less than the U.S., and I don't know how their economy's doing, but that don't mean there ain't rich. There's rich people, I'm sure. I think the rich from Bangkok come here too. The rich Thais from Bangkok come here to vacation. So it's kind of a rich man's environment, and I guess everybody can seem to make a buck if they want to, can get out and make a baht enough to make a dinner, 40 peso meal of pad thai or whatever. They can eat here pretty cheap. And the food is so available that it's not a problem. And it seems to be with the tourism industry, there's a lot more opportunity for these Thais. And given the Filipinos having the same opportunities as the Thais, they'd be just as good. And they are just as good, actually. I honestly can say I've never been ripped off in either country. I was always paying attention to what I was doing when I was there. And it may happen to me yet. I better knock on wood, you know, don't speak too soon. But as long as you're diligent about watching your stuff, I would say be a little more watchful of your stuff in the Philippines, because it could get away from you quicker, I think. So as here, I've never had anybody, they just kind of avoid you. They don't really come around. The Thai really ain't coming up to try to deal with you very much, whereas there was more so of that in the Philippines. Always, where are you from? Where are you staying? What are you doing here? You know, how much do you make? You know, they'll ask you that. And they have them questions, whereas the Thais can't hit you up with those questions. So they just kind of avoid you unless you approach them. So that's a safety barrier in itself, I see it as. But anyway, I've never been stolen from in the Philippines. In fact, I'll go one step further. In fact, in the Philippines, when I would eat, I would leave tips sometimes, even at the small cafes. I'd leave just 10 or 20 peso tip, and I would have busboys run down the road to give me the 10 or 20. Hey, sir, you left your money. No, that was your tip. Go ahead and keep it. And they're like, oh, thank you, you know. But a lot, and that's happened to me in the Philippines more than once, like about 3-4 times. I've had people try to give me my tips back. They were that honest. So there is the Christian factor in the Philippines too. A lot of them are very, very honest, and they won't steal from you. But I think there comes a point where the desperation factor would overrule that, and I would agree with it. You know, when you need to feed your family, go out and do whatever you need to do to, you know, within reason, try to make your food feed your baby. You know, you got to, as a man, you know, you got to feed your family. So just with the economic conditions, it could push somebody into that. Whereas I don't see it so much here, and I think the economic condition is the number one reason I don't see it. Maybe other parts they do. And like I say, the Buddhists, they believe in karma, so they don't want to be having bad karma by stealing from you. And I actually agree with that karma myself, even though I was born and raised Catholic. I agree with the karma. I've lived to be 62 now, and I've seen it enough times to think, damn, yeah, there's something out there, and it's kind of makes things right eventually. So that's my comparison anyway. So in the end, I have to say, I truly do. I feel safer here in Hue Hin than I did in Dumaguete, although I've never been stolen from in either place. I think here I can leave my guard down a little more, and I do. And it's safer in other ways too, like the walking and stuff. I can get out, the traffic is safer. So you got to factor them in too, you know. Here I got some sidewalks I can walk on, and in Dumaguete there was holes in the sidewalk I could fall into. So if you weren't paying attention, and there's no traffic lights and no traffic laws there, so the that's another danger. You can't overlook those dangers too. So is that a feel safe or not? You know, I actually here in Hue Hin, the traffic ain't crazy, so that's another reason I feel a little bit safer. Sidewalks I can walk on. The actual side streets are concrete up to walls. Every side street is concrete street and then walls on both sides. So you're actually in a concrete block maze is what it is. A concrete maze. You just go down these different streets. They're concrete and walls, so it's easy to negotiate. You're not going to fall into any holes anyway. Everything's pretty flat. You can walk around here. But anyway, that's my comparison on safety. I will go ahead and say I do feel safer here for several reasons, and I just listed them. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you all in the next one. Bye.